Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Borderline Podcast with me, your host, Andrew Willix. And tonight, guys, we're joined by another amazing guest who we're going to try and destigmatize some issues around mental health, talk about their own story of overcoming adversity, and ensuring that you never need to feel alone again with your own mental health journey. So, without further ado, I'm joined by Chris Terzakos tonight, who's joined me all the way across from America. Now, Chris had quite a challenging upbringing, and that's going to be spoke about a lot in how he became a successful leader. He was also the author of 3 impactful books. We're going to talk about resilience, leadership, mentorship, and obviously along with his personal experiences of overcoming adversity. I'd say Chris is also going to delve into his self-healing journey from hernia, the significance of maintaining healthy testosterone levels, and the role nutrition plays in overall well-being. And throughout this conversation, he's going to keep on emphasizing the importance of mental health and self-love and encourage listeners to pursue their goals and not let negativity deter them. So without any further ado, guys, really enjoyed Chris Terazakos. All of his information is in the episode description below. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe for more content. Enjoy. 7 minutes. Chris Terazakos, thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time and coming up to the Borderline podcast this evening to talk to me. How are you doing? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. First, I want to thank you for having me on your showcase, your platform. And I'm here to express my experience and wisdom, whatever questions that you need to seek.
Excellent. The pleasure is all mine, honestly. And for anybody that isn't aware, Chris is the author of 3 books, like we're going to cover throughout this episode. Hernia Without Surgery, Natural Testosterone After 60, and Belonging to Yourself. So, there's going to be a lot of information covered in here. Like we talked about, it's probably going to go the full length, I think. Chris, for the audience back home in IMOF and listening across the world, could we just go back to your start in earlier life and just talk about an earlier Chris, please?
Okay, good. So I'm born and raised in New York City. I live in a tough neighborhood growing up. Single mother, raising 4 kids. Most of my childhood, I played baseball. I was scouted by 2 professional baseball teams. It didn't happen, and I'm responsible for that. I didn't listen to the coach. I didn't have a father like over me, so you better do this, you better do that. So, make a long story short, it didn't happen. I went into construction. I became a leader in a matter of 3 years in the business. I ran a company for 18 years with over 250 employees. So I was a leader at a very young age. I was actually a leader even when I played baseball. I was one of the captains of the team. So leadership was most part of my life.
Yeah, we often hear that quite often. People growing up from hardened backgrounds they show that kind of resilience and leadership. Would you say that obviously, living that kind of harder lifestyle, so to speak, led to a lot of that sort of resilience and leadership that you just spoke about?
Absolutely. And the key to that was you can always make mistakes in a leadership position. The key also is don't make the same mistake twice. So teaching yourself, it's 100% normal. You're going to fall down. You got to get back up. Don't give up. Be dedicated, be disciplined. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and you become a good leader in life.
Yeah, that's so true. Like you say, treat people the way that you want to be treated. Just the golden rule of life, isn't it? So,
right.
So you nearly made it as a professional baseball player, but you said that you're kind of responsible for that not happening. Could you just talk a little bit about that and the reasons why that didn't materialize?
Yeah, sure. So the reason why that didn't happen, I had a coach. His name was Coach Sherman. I mean, the guy loved me to death. Right? He he knew about my family situation. He knew I came from a tough neighborhood. A lot of things were going on in my lifetime, but he was trying to coach me along, like Chris, they're coming. You got to go to bed early. You got to do this. Don't go out with your friends. He ran the whole the whole mathematics on me, but I didn't listen. That's the thing. I didn't listen. When the scouts came, I wasn't playing to my fullest. Back then when you're young, I think I was like 18 or 19 years old. I was like, so what? Today, now that I'm more experienced in my wisdom, I wish I would have had it then what I have now, because I wouldn't have made those mistakes. So yeah, I went out hanging out with my friends, Stat Saturday, the scouts came. Uh, I was on the field. Like, I really didn't care if they liked me. I didn't care if they, drafted. I didn't care. But today, I'm here to express myself that if you're young and you're listening to this, care, care of what your profession is, because if you were born, to do something creative and you be the fullest at it, keep it, do it. You have to care. That's the one thing. You have to care of what you're going to do in your life. You have to care.
Yeah, that's such an important message because I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. When you're younger, there is that lack of care that you're always going to have tomorrow, and or tomorrow isn't really a reality because you've got this endless time frame, and it's easy to slip out of progression and whatnot at such an early age.
Right, of
So
course.
can I ask there, obviously construction then obviously took a major part of your life in the leadership. Just how much did that leadership then, change your mindset later on in life? Like we're going to cover that leadership aspect, that resilience aspect, and how you coach and inspire people today. Like what did you learn from construction that you can still utilize today with people that you speak to?
Great question. I love helping people. I've done it all my life. I have a passion for helping others. And being a leader, you're not only a leader in construction, because people say, hey, Chris, can I talk to you on the side? I got something going on in my life. Now you're almost like a therapist. So they talk to you about their marriage, their kids, their car broke down, their grandparent. They talk to you about various things because you're their leader in the business. So, I have a passion for that. And if I can give you my best advice, then I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Most, you know what, Andrew? Most of the time, people answer their own questions. People answer them.
that's actually really true. Especially when we're talking about giving advice, because that's something that happens on this podcast with me all the time. It's happened already in this episode that you've said something in context that I can immediately relate to, and it kind of almost gives me a little bit of advice for things that I'm questioning amongst myself. And like I say, when you hear that sort of stuff, it helps you connect with one another. So I'm assuming that obviously, working with so many people, like you said, you almost become like a therapist to them. I'm assuming then you've always been quite open to the discussions around mental health, how we feel, and really just being about honest and vocalizing that.
Yeah, I do. I do. Mental health is so crucial. So, yeah, I have a lot of conversations about mental health, yeah, with people.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, they are so crucial to have. Another thing, just to touch on just now, just to wrap back to my earlier question about baseball, the other thing that just fascinated me with your leadership is that isn't where baseball finished for you though. You done some amazing things with some teams, did you know?
Yeah, I did. I did. I played for a league. It's called Elm Jack. I played for this league. I endorse it. It keeps all the kids off the streets. They're playing organized baseball, good talent. The president of the league came to me and said, his name is Bobby. He said, hey, Chris, how you doing, Bob? He said, we got to do away with the senior division. Now, the senior division is 17 to 20-year-olds. So I said, why? I I love that division. When I played, that's the division I played in. He said, because two things. We don't have money and we don't have a coach. I said, oh, how much money do you need? So he told me. So I said, okay, we can fix that. I'm going to write you a check. He goes, really? And he started crying. I said, what are you crying for? It's just, here, I'm going to write you the check. Now you keep the team. He goes, yeah, but I don't have players and I don't have a coach. I said, what? You don't have players? He goes, man, I got maybe three or four guys that wanna play, but I don't have a full team. So I said, oh shoot. All right, you know what? I'm gonna coach the team and I'm gonna do scouting. I'm gonna go get a team put together. He goes, really? I said, yeah. Here's the check. I'll do my diligence. I'll start tonight, tomorrow I'll start. So I went to the nearest park in my neighborhood. There was always like 15, 20 kids always playing like in the park. And they all knew me because I used to play basketball in the park. I played handball. So I went up to them and said, "Hey guys, come here. I want to talk to all you guys." There was about maybe 12 or 15 guys. Anybody here play organized baseball before? Yeah, I played in the Little League when I was 12 years old. I said, okay, good. I said, how about playing organized baseball? You guys want to play organized baseball? I'm putting a team together. Really? Yeah. Talk amongst each other, I said, and let me know. If you do want to play, you come Saturday at the Elm Jack baseball field. I'll be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you want to play and you're interested, I'll be there. Andrew, about 15 guys showed up. I was like,
Wow.
oh, wow, this is pretty cool. They all
Yeah.
showed up. I was like, hey, I'm happy to see everybody. You know, we got all new equipment. You know, I wrote the check to the president of the league. He got all the new equipment. So we started practicing. And then, you know, with my leadership, you know, here I am thinking, what am I lacking? I'm lacking something here. And the thing I was lacking here, if anyone knows baseball, I was lacking pitching. Pitcher is very important in baseball, is the pitches. So I went out to all the big high schools, with really talented players, and I scouted 4 or 5 pitchers. So I would watch their game. After the game, I approached them. A guy named Jose. Hey, Jose, how you doing? I'm Chris. He's like, hey, how you doing? I said, I love the way you pitch. I love your talent. I said, I'm putting together a team for the Sandlot Lions, which is a really tough league to play in. You got to be high end. I said, so I'm interested in you. Would you like to, join my team? He said, yeah, sounds interesting. So I did that with 5 guys. They all came. The problem was that the street guys were clashing with the high school guys. 2 different personalities. So
Yeah.
what happens? You got a storm. So again, we're going to go back to leadership. What's the best way for me to mend this? Because now they're in competition with one another. They're calling each other names. I was like, all right, listen, this has got to stop. How do I make it stop? I had barbecues. I would hang out with them on a Saturday afternoon. I said, everyone come to my house. I had a nice big house, big backyard. Come for barbecues. So that formulated a beautiful chemistry amongst all of them. And then back on the field, I see them helping one another. I say, wow, this worked. This whole thing just formulated beautifully. And so I put this team together, and we won 3 consecutive championships back to back to back, 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That's incredible.
yeah.
Kind of lost for words by the end of that one, Chris.
You know what?
That's
Actually, to this day,
outstanding.
it's still emotional. I get emotional telling the story because
Yeah.
not I was not only their coach, I became their friend. I got a couple of them in the union, in construction. They're all getting ready to retire soon in construction. I keep in touch with 3 or 4 guys. Other guys went to the Marines, to the United States Army. It's still an emotional story to tell, and I love telling the story. And I appreciate you asking about this story because this is a really deep story. It's a good ending. It was a good ending.
Yeah, I absolutely loved hearing it, and I'm sure everybody else loved hearing it. It's a proper hero story, that the kind of almost underdog story that you love to hear, and like you say, when you've spoken about that, you really became such a integral part of their lives, and to change the way that they were even bonding with one another. Just how rewarding was that for you, knowing that you talked about earlier in the episode that it's quite hard upbringing in parts of New York and whatnot, and to know that you were getting these kids off the street a little bit as well, and filled up with an activity and something positive in their life. Just how rewarding was that exactly for you?
It's unbelievable the feeling.
Yeah,
My blood flows like so clean, knowing what I did and what they did. It's what all of us did.
yeah.
So putting the whole thing together, formulating the picture, putting all the pieces to the puzzle together, and making it a happy time. Besides the competition, I wanted everyone to have fun, even if they lost the championships. I wanted you to have fun. That's all I wanted.
That's amazing, man. Like I say, I loved hearing that story. I'm really glad that I asked the question, so you got to cover it. If
Yeah,
you don't
thank you.
mind, could we just could we jump forward a little bit? Obviously, fitness is a major part and has been a major part of your life. Um, keeping fit and active with baseball. You were then inspired to write your first book, Hernia Without Surgery. Can you just go into that with how that came about? Obviously, the hernia itself and how you've dealt with that.
Okay, so actually, Hernia was my third book that I wrote. My first book that I wrote was the memoir about my life. Belonging to
Apologies.
yourself is a, yeah, it's okay. Belonging to yourself is a memoir about my life. Hernia without surgery, yeah. So I'll tell you how that happened. In my early 50s, right? I'm 65 years old now, but in my early 50s, I would say about 50, 51, I was going through change of life. But they call it midlife crisis. So midlife crisis, I'm in the gym. I wanted to step up my game. I mean, I look good. I'm ripped. I still got a six pack at my age. But I wanted to bulk it up a little bit. So I started lifting heavier weights. By lifting heavier weights, what happened? I got a hernia. I went from bench pressing 275 up to 375. I never should have done that. I'm not
Mhm.
competing. I'm not in contests. So if your audience is listening, if you're not going to compete and you're not going to be in any kind of tournaments, there's no need for you to bench press
Yeah,
375, 400. There's no need for it. So I'm the result. I did it. I got a hernia, an inguinal hernia. It's right on the groin. Went to the doctor. He looked at it. He said, "Oh, we got to do surgery." I said, "We got to do surgery." He said, "Yeah, we got to do surgery. I'll set you up next week." I said, "No, don't set nothing up." He says, "What are you going to do?" So I said, "I'm going to find a way to self heal myself. I don't want nothing in my body." Just so your audience understands, when you have a hernia, they give you a piece of mesh. A piece of mesh, they cut you open, they put the mesh in there, they push the hernia back in there. It's like a ball. You push it back in there, and now you got your whole life. You got a foreign object in your body. It's called a mesh. And I didn't want that because that can lead to other complications. So you know.
yeah,
So I went on this whole program, did a lot of reading, a lot of searching, a lot of testing. So I said, okay, I'm going to self heal this myself. So one of the steps, I think in my book, there's 9 steps, right? One of the steps is for the first 30 or 40 days, every single day, I took a hot Epsom salt bath. Epsom salt will reduce the inflammation on the hernia because that's what it is. It's
yeah,
inflamed. So, besides the baths, you take some essential oils, put it on your hand, and you do a lot of massaging around the hernia. Now, remember, I have this hernia 14 years. I'm 65 now. I got it when I was 51 or 52 years old. So, a lot of massaging and Epsom salt bath for about 30, 40 days straight. Now, two key, two key things that we need to know. First, you got to be dedicated. Two, you need patience and discipline. So, massaging, Epsom salt baths, don't lift anything heavy. It could be groceries, suitcases if you're traveling, weightlifting in the gym. Not, you don't lift anything heavy. So, what I suggest is a hernia belt. I put the hernia belt on only when I go to the gym. Okay? It's a belt, it pushes the hernia back in, it holds it in place. You put the belt on, I go exercise. I exercise for an hour, 5 days a week. I exercise, and I have no complications. Today, right, if anyone wants to see my hernia, you don't even know I have a hernia. My hernia is maybe the size of a little like a walnut, this small.
wow,
So I can live with that. I don't have nothing object. I didn't get cut open. There won't be no complications later because if you do get a mesh surgery, that can pop. The mesh
yeah,
could pull, rip, and now you're back in surgery again because they got to redo it. So
mhm,
these are the things that prevented me from doing the hernia surgery.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. That, putting something putting something foreign in your body for pretty much the rest of your life is something that you really should consider. Whereas you're probably right that quite a few people would probably just jump into it because it is doctor's order. Sorry, so it's no that's really cool. That's really refreshing that you find this innovative way to heal yourself and you have progression with that. Can I ask? Obviously, you spoke about discipline there and obviously being in the fitness lifestyle, I'm sure that you'll
Sure.
be incredibly disciplined as it is. But did you have to follow any sort of key nutrition when you were going through that phase of recovery with your hernia, or where you try to keep your sugar levels a little bit lower so they weren't spiking, anything like that? Was there any sort of like dietary changes that you had to make?
Well, I didn't have to make changes because I've been eating healthy for the last 40 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but to answer your question, yes. If you're not eating healthy, you should begin to eat healthy. And
Mhm.
we'll get into that probably later with other things that we're going to talk about. But yeah, whether you have an injury or not, you should be eating healthy. And sugar, you mentioned, is the key, one of the key factors of eating healthy. You got to get rid of the sugar.
Mhm.
So, just you got to watch what causes inflammation. So, stress, will cause inflammation to your hernia because we're
Yeah,
talking about the hernia. What else causes inflammation to the hernia? Fried food. So I don't eat any of that. I don't even remember the
yeah,
last time I had fried food. I don't eat fried food. So yeah. So and if you're overweight and you have a hernia, yeah, you have to lose the weight because if you
yeah,
lose the weight, you take the pressure off the hernia area.
yeah.
So yeah, you got to eat healthy. You should always eat healthy, whether you got injuries or not. You should always eat healthy.
Yeah, that's a much better message. It's just always eat healthy. Like you say, you've got one body, so do your damnedest to look after it the best that you can. It's the one major responsibility that we all have in life. It's just look after ourselves as well at the same time. So I'm sorry I got your book order wrong. Could
It's
we then
okay.
just go back to the influence and inspiration behind writing "Belonging to Yourself," please, Chris?
Okay. So what was the question? What was the question? I because
Sorry,
you came up.
sorry. Yeah, it was just could we go back to your first book
Yep.
and talk about the influence, the origins, and the inspiration of why you wrote that?
Okay. So here's the book, right? So this book about my life, I was faced with a lot of adversities, a lot of pain, a lot of I went through a lot of I call it mental health, but just a lot of changes. I told you earlier when we first started that I come from a tough neighborhood. My best friend was murdered. So, yeah, he got murdered when he was 20 years old. And he was the type of guy that he was just a free type of guy.
Yeah,
You weren't changing him. Johnny is his name. Johnny was Johnny. You can't change the guy. I loved him to death. His heart was big as the universe, but he did a lot of crazy things. And one of the crazy things he did was he stepped on the wrong people's toes. And I went to talk for him. I knew who the people were, and they told me to. They made a suggestion: stay away from him, don't walk with him in the street, and tell him that he should go somewhere. So I went back and I told him. He says, "Listen, you got to go somewhere. Go to California. Go. You got to get out of here." I said, he goes, nah, nah, nah. He says, I'll see. Sure enough, I don't know, a month later, I got a phone call from his mother that he died. He was murdered. So, and he was murdered in a really bad way. They threw him on the train tracks. A train ran him over.
yeah,
So, when you go through something like that in life, boy, especially at my age, I was 20 years old. I don't know, I just didn't feel right, man. Life, I said, this is what life is. This is what life does. So that was one adversity. Now, how do I overcome that? I kept myself busy. I was in construction. I focused on my work. I focused on whoever else was my friend, just to be a good friend to them. I knew that drinking, drugs, that wasn't my life. I knew that wasn't my life. Exercise was always part of my life, so I exercised. And these are all the things that I needed to do to overcome that. Because 5 years later, another wave came, a big wave. I get a phone call from my father that my sister, my older sister, she died. And she died running. She was a marathon runner. So she was training with two friends. They went out on a 10-mile run and she died. She had a pulmonary aneurysm. She died in 2 minutes. Her friend said, we looked at her, she fell, we thought she tripped, and we went to look at her, she couldn't breathe, and she died right away. So here's another adversity, grief, pain, my heart, you know. So now I'm going through another change. On that one, though, I became angry. I started acting out. I was 27 years old at the time. I got into a lot of trouble. I started acting out. I was angry at everybody. I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I wind up, law enforcement arrested me. I was in court for 2 years. And after that, I said, you know what? I need to get my life together. I went to anger management, which I love that lady today. I don't see the lady today, but I love that lady today. She actually she did a lot of good things for me. And so I did anger management. I did it for 4 years. And then I was on my way again, back on track. So those are the stories in the
Well,
book. I talked about good things. I built the largest casino in the United States. I was there for 7 years.
wow.
I built it. I was a project manager for a company that I worked for. We had, I think, 300 employees on the job to build that casino. So there's a lot of good things too in that book. And then I believe it's chapter 16 in that book. I talk about the biggest betrayal of my life. And to this day, I don't mention the person's name. It's a family member also. But yeah, I forgive that person for betraying me. Um, I guess he did it for his own success, and I forgive him. I don't. We don't talk. We haven't talked in over 30 years. But yeah, I talk about that, and just to give in the book some advice to people. When someone close to you betrays you, what to do, how to handle it. Forgiveness has got to be the first step. I know it's hard, but you got to forgive. Bitterness and hatred is not going to make you feel good. You're not going to be a happy person. So you got to release all that so you can have your own freedom. Remember, you want the heart to be free because once the heart's free, the mind's free, the body's free, and you become free. So that's what I talk about in this book.
Yeah. Wow, that was so lovely put. And just so many important messages in there. Yeah, again, just to hit home in a couple.
Yeah,
I know what I was going to ask.
I'm getting a lot of good responses on that book, by the way. People,
Yeah. I
yeah,
bet you are. Like I say, a little thing about me is I've only just started this year, just writing my own book, my own kind of memoir, same sort of nowhere near the depths of what you've experienced, but it's something that you said there. I'll just lead with this question to start off with. Something that you said there that really resonated with me was setting yourself free and forgiving others.
yeah,
Um, Something that I deeply try and do now. Whenever I feel that anger or that a little bit of hurt sometimes when somebody makes a decision you potentially might not agree with it and it gets on the wrong side of you, but something that I always do now is always like to try and put myself in that person's shoes before I make that judgment, before I really take that step and decision of how I want to progress. And that's something that I like so much more about myself now, and I'm sure it'll be the same for you. And I have to ask it that you know when you talk about setting yourself free, that's almost like having a new love and a new clarity for life, so to speak. Is that something that would relate to you?
yeah. When you set yourself free, it's self love. You have to have self love, in order to set yourself free. So self love first, and then you have to love others. In
Yeah.
my life, I always put everybody first before me, and then I started catching on over the years. I was like, wait a minute, this is not putting everyone else before me. I got to put myself first, and that's what I did. I transformed, positive mindset again. I said self love. I need to be free. I need to be free of myself, free minded, free heart, and that's what I did.
Nice one, man. Nice one. And just to ask you, do you do any kind of, any kind of routine and any sort of kind of meditation or any sort of mindfulness or that? Do you implement that into your daily or weekly life just to, kind of help resonate that calmness with yourself?
Yeah, I do a form of meditation. It's not really meditation, but it's a form of it. Um, I'll take like, 15, 20 minutes of my time, my free time to myself. So whether it's I lay down on the couch with a pillow, I could look up at the ceiling, um, just lay there and just think some good positive thoughts. It's a form of meditation, and it just makes me calm, makes me free. I feel good. When I'm finished, I'm ready to get back on track with what I have to do on my daily life. But yeah, you take time for yourself, calm down, let the heart relax, let the body relax, let the mind relax, and then you flourish. That's what I do.
Yeah, yeah, that's say very similar to me. Say just keeps me nice and level. And would you agree? Obviously, I love my fitness as well. Big gym goer. Would you agree? I always say that probably my favorite type of meditation though is the gym because it really allows me to get any
Yeah.
sort of emotion out of me. Is that something that you'd agree with yourself?
Yeah, you brought a smile to my face because, listen, I go to the gym. I am the happiest guy in the world. I put my headset on. I listen to all my music that I grew up with, classic rock and roll. I'm happy. I feel good. I'm not dreading it. A lot of guys, ugh, I got to go to the gym. Ugh, I got to go to the gym 7 o'clock. You know what? I've never done that in my life. I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I'm like positive. I'm going to the gym. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
I told my wife, a couple of times actually, because my wife also is into fitness. I told her one, I think it was like a month ago or a month and a half ago. She looked at me. She goes, "How you doing in the gym?" I said, "I'm doing good." I said, "You know what, hon? I am the happiest ever in my life when I'm here in the gym. I'm having fun.
Yeah, it's
Just
so true.
having
Like
fun."
having fun, yeah.
What was
Like
that?
so yeah, no, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, like it's having fun. A lot of people don't quite understand that. But it's something that I've said before. It's my happy place. It's somewhere that I go. I can very much similar to yourself. I put the music in and I get down and at it for an hour. But if
There
somebody
you
wants to
go.
come across for a little chat, as long as we're not slowing each other's down, we're going to be social. And there's,
Correct.
I think as well in the gym you talked about earlier, alcohol and whatnot. I don't really drink alcohol as well. I don't know a lot of places other than the gym that you can have such open conversations. You certainly can't have them at the pub, at the bar. You know, some of the conversations and dialogues that I have with people at the gym makes it so much special as well because it's such a unique place that you can just be truly open with everybody else. And
Exactly.
it's a beautiful place. Just a place of progress and good feel. That's what I always like to say, Chris.
And most of the time when somebody approaches you in the gym, it's because you're inspiring them. So when you inspire people, people want to talk to you. They want to ask you, how do you do this in the gym, or why do you do that exercise, or what's the benefit of that exercise? It's always a question. So me, I know I inspire people. I'm 65 years old. I got a body of a 30-year-old. Like I told you, I got a six pack still. I'm jacked, all natural. So I know I inspire people. And in the gym, I have my own little theory in the gym. And then I'll tell you what it is. You got 30 seconds to get your point across to me because after 30 seconds, my headset will go back on. You lost me. I'm going back to my training. I'm not
Yeah,
going to sit there for 5, 10 minutes and talk to you. I'm in the gym here. That's my time. It's my fun. It's my time to train. It's my time to be healthy. So you got 30 seconds, and that's it. And I'm back to exercising again. I'll answer your questions. I'll be kind. I'll be nice. But I'm going to go right back to what I was doing.
Yeah, 100%. Because, like you say, when we talk about the gym as as a type of meditation, so to speak, you wouldn't go and poke somebody on the shoulder that's been sat in silence for 20 minutes, and they're in a deep trance. You just wouldn't. So no, I totally agree with you. I'm very similar. Although I always like to talk to people as well. I'm very similar that 30 seconds to a minute. It's that was my rest time, and I'm working on myself right now. So this conversation can possibly wait until I'm done working on myself. And I
That's
don't think there's
it.
anything selfish about it.
No,
As you say, we're all there for the same reasons, and we're all there to try and make ourselves a little bit better.
exactly.
Speaking on the gym, because it's going to wind into this part of the conversation, you have another book, Natural Testosterone After 60.
Correct.
Um, could you talk to us again, the inspiration of why you felt to write the book, your own experience with testosterone?
Yeah.
I'm assuming maybe low testosterone, and you've increased that over time.
Yeah, I did. So yeah, here's the book. That's a picture of me. It was taken, I think, a year ago or 8 months ago. So on all my books, I have to tell you who I owe it to. My wife. My wife, she encouraged me to write these 3 books. And I know I'm sensitive right now. She's my biggest supporter. She supports me of what I do. So she told me to write these books to help people. The testosterone book is the story behind it. Like I told you, in my early 50s, I was going through change of life. Guy in the gym, I went and talked to him, big guy. I said, listen, I want to get a little bigger. I'm ripped, but I need a little more size. So what did he do, Andrew? He says, come here, I'll talk to you on the side. So he says to me, you got to get on this. So he holds up a bottle. It said testosterone. I said, oh. He says, yeah, you inject this. He says, once or twice a week. He showed me exactly what to do. He says, and you, you'll get some size. I said, really? I said, wow, okay. So I did. So I started injecting myself testosterone twice a week. Boy, you talk about strength, you talk about size. I went from 165 ripped to 195 ripped, but bigger because I was injecting testosterone. Now, I did that for 5 years. It was incredible. My ego, which I don't have anymore, but I had a big ego, obviously back then. So, everyone went, oh, you look great. How'd you do it? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after 5 years, I said, okay, I'm going to cut this out. I don't want to take testosterone anymore. Not realizing that when you stop taking injections of testosterone, your body's not going to produce testosterone. Your body shuts down because now you're injecting synthetic testosterone. So the body talks and the body says, oh, I don't have to produce testosterone because he's injecting it. So I go to a doctor to get my blood test. So my testosterone level came back at 81. Now,
Wow.
just for your audience to know, 81 is terrible. Any man should be between 300 nanograms to 500 nanograms. That should be your balance, between 300 and 5. If you're below 300, you got to start working on your testosterone. You got to get your testosterone to lift. And what happens when you don't have testosterone? You got brain fog, you're tired, you feel depressed, you might have anxiety, your self-esteem drops, you need testosterone. Every man needs testosterone. A woman, she needs estrogen. A man needs testosterone. So my test came back at 81. So what's the first thing the doctor says? Oh, you're a candidate for TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. I said, nah, I don't want that. And I'll tell you why. It's for the rest of your life. If you
Yeah.
go on TRT, you got to do it for the rest of your life. That means you got to take a shot every week with a doctor, supervision. Your blood thickens. Your red blood cells go up. Your blood pressure goes up. you could get a heart attack, you can get a stroke, you got to donate blood every 3 months because now your blood is thick. So now you got to donate blood. You got to release the old blood and put new blood in your body. So who wants that for the rest of their life? Not me. Certainly not me. And by the way, you got to watch enlarged prostate because when you're taking testosterone, it will enlarge your prostate. So these are all the things that, people should know. Do they know it? They probably know some of it. Maybe they don't know any of it. But guess what? You're listening to this podcast, now you know all of it because I just gave it to you all. So make a decision. TRT for the rest of your life or my program. And I don't mean you to go out and buy my book, but learn about my program or what I did. So I went from 81. I started my own program. 9 months later, I went back now to a different doctor, a holistic doctor. Holistic doctor won't put you on TRT. So I went back to a holistic doctor, took another test, and my level came back 648. It's in the book.
Wow.
Both tests are in the book. So I went from 81 to 648. My program worked. And I'm still on my program. I still follow, all the steps that I did. And my testosterone level today is, I'm going to say it's about 700. And that's high for a 65-year-old man. When you're 65, you might be about 400, 450, maybe even 300. But I'm about 700 now. I'm maintaining it. And I got the remedy to talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mustn't be, as I say, 700 just now. That's got to be close, like you said, 30-year-old, 35-year-old, kind of young adult sort of range, isn't it? So what I'm trying to hit home there, the main point, that it's not like a coincidental rise, that just being more apparent and just taking a little bit more self-love for yourself, the things that may naturally increase it from 89 to 120 or 140. This is a huge meteoric difference. So, there isn't any, cutting the cloth in between it. It's definitive data, is what I'm trying to say from that, which is incredible, because I know personally, I've had a couple of blood tests across my time. I'm always incredibly interested in the parallels between mental health, anxiety, and depression with low testosterone in men, because, like I said to you before we started recording, the subjects of TRT, testosterone, they're not big in the UK. People don't usually have these types of conversations. The information just isn't there, and I think there's the very taboo of the word steroid still scares a lot of people across here or at least it's kind of hidden away in that respect.
Right.
Would you just be able to talk on again the link between low testosterone and anxiety, and why that may lead to poor choices and poor decision making, and how it can really affect your life?
Yeah, it's really a problem, throughout the world. Low testosterone, and in the United States, everyone's talking about it. They're talking about low testosterone, TRT. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of podcasts, a lot of shows on YouTube about testosterone. So it's so important for a man to be at a normal range. You mentioned anxiety. Guys are committing suicide because they didn't know that testosterone was low. They just felt that they were depressed. Okay? Now, so if you're depressed, go get your blood exam. Get up, feel good, Like the name of my website is called healingwarriors.com. I'm a healing warrior. Why? Because I get up and I make shit happen. I'm not going to sit there like a depressed guy and go like this. Don't do that. Get up, make it happen, be motivated, be inspirational to others who sit with you, or in your household with your kids. Remember, even if you're moody, a moody guy should go get his testosterone level checked. Why are you moody? What,
Yeah.
something bothering you? You should be happy. You got a wife, you got kids, you got a house. You should be happy. Why are you moody? You know why? Your testosterone level might be low. Your hormones are off balance. So what do? I eat food that benefits me, that benefits my hormones, that benefits my testosterone. That's the food that I eat. I'm not going to put food in my body to lower my testosterone. And we can get into that, when you're ready. But I'm not doing that. And I don't want people to do that. I want you to be healthy. Be healthy. A lot of young guys, listen, you're 30 years old. I know you're losing testosterone because that's when it starts, around 30. You start declining. And you know what? One of the key factors of that is because you're stressed. You're stressed out. When you're stressed out, your body won't produce testosterone. So there's a lot of factors that we could talk about of how to increase testosterone naturally. And I'll wait for you to ask me the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's get right into that. So obviously earlier, you spoke about that you live in an incredibly, strict and healthy diet. Could you just talk about, the foods that you do eat and foods that that you avoid, sorry, the ones that obviously accentuate and help promote raised testosterones, and obviously the ones that fight against them with lower testosterones in the body?
Okay. All right. So, there's do's and you don'ts. There's things that you do and things that you don't do. So let's start with sugar. We need to get off the sugar because sugar raises insulin. When the insulin goes up, your estrogen goes up. So insulin and estrogen are two testosterone blockers. They will block the production of natural testosterone. Insulin, estrogen. So remember that. So you got to dump the sugar. Once you dump the sugar, that's like 30% of the problem. Now, what is sugar? Pasta, rice, starch, white flour. You got to dump all that. It's no good for you. You go to the supermarket, and I've said this on a podcast yesterday, everything is a lie in a supermarket.
Yeah.
You see all the signs, gluten-free, sugar-free, this free. Don't believe it. It's all a lie. Why would you put something in your body that's going to harm you? Put something in your body that's going to benefit you. I mean, that's simple. When you go to the gas station, you want to put good gas in the car. You don't want to put that cheap, dirty gas in the car because now you got a dirty motor. Same thing with the body. Put some clean food in the body. And if you can do that, now your body operates better. So, you got to dump the sugar. The other thing I mentioned was cortisol, stress. We have a hormone, it's called cortisol. So, what happens? Stress level goes up, cortisol goes up. What happens to testosterone? It blocks it. It won't produce testosterone. So, what do you do to release stress? I mentioned it earlier. I go lay down 15 minutes, put my head on a pillow. Whether my eyes are open or closed, I'm calming the body down from any stress, something that might be bothering me, right? I also have an all-natural supplement. It's called ashwagandha. Andrew, have you heard of this?
Nice. Ashwagandha, yeah. I have heard of that, yeah.
Okay, so it's all natural, right? It's all plant-based. I have another one here. It's called shilajit. This is from
I've
India.
never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's called shilajit. This
Nice.
releases stress and anxiety, and it's all natural.
Yeah.
I don't believe in taking any conventional medicine. I take everything from plant-based. So, those are two items that I take 5 days a week. I don't take it every day. 2 days off, 5 days on. So I normally take it at night. I take one of them at night. It's a supplement. It makes me sleep better. I wake up, I'm calm. I have no anxiety. I don't feel like I, have anxiety. No stress, So these are things that if you could get the cortisol down, the stress level, then your body will produce testosterone naturally. Now, here's a glass of water, right? In that glass of water, if you take 2 tablespoons of natural, remember I said natural, olive oil, 2 tablespoons, drink it 5 days a week. Your testosterone level will go up 17%
Yeah.
just by olive oil. Now, when you go to the supermarket and you hold the bottle up of olive oil, look at the back label. If the back label, and if it comes from 5 different countries, put it back on the shelf. The
Yeah.
olive oil has to come from one location, whether it's Greece, Morocco, Italy. It's got to come from one place. Now you know that you're buying genuine olive oil.
Hmm.
See,
That's so
they
true.
try to sell olive oil and go, oh, extra virgin olive oil. Like, or you look at it, the bottle's dark, which is a good thing, but it's from 5 different countries. That means you're not
Yeah.
buying genuine olive oil. So let that be a lesson to most people. It has to come from one place. Once once you see one country, now you know you're buying genuine olive oil. So if you drink olive oil, 2 tablespoons in a glass of water, watch your testosterone. I'm going to say in about 8 weeks, your level will go up 17% naturally. And there's other things you want me to talk about. There's other foods. Would you like me to share it? Are you there, Andrew?
Sorry, Chris. Yeah. I'm still there. Sorry, you're just breaking up there. You can just, you could just repeat what you said there at the end, Chris. Could you?
No, I just said I talked about the olive oil coming from one country. It can't come from 5 different countries because then it's not genuine olive oil. So I drink 2 tablespoons of olive
Yeah.
oil
Yeah. No. No.
in a glass of water, and your levels will go up about 17%. Your levels will go up just by olive oil.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like them very healthy fats are just the major, or I always found the major role player that I always find with kind of keeping my mind, my body, my hormones seem to be in check. That you speak of the olive oils and whatnot. Fruit as well. You're nice. You're good. You're better sugars, I should say. Although a lot of frozen fruit, I should say for myself personally, just in smoothies and yogurts.
Right.
But yeah, it just shows that you are the living proof, the living embodiment that this is possible if you've got the right mindset and you have the right resilience. And Chris, you've not had to say one of a better word. Well, you've made an amazing life for yourself. It sounds at times that life's tried to fight back at you, but you, at time and time again, you've overcome the adversities and you've amassed yourself, and you've been a winner like that, and like you say, a warrior, I should say.
Right.
What I always like to do towards the end of the podcast is I always like to give the guest a couple of minutes just to say anything that they want to say to the audience, some life lessons that maybe they've learned and they would like to pass on, words of encouragement for anybody listening.
Sure.
Just anything that you think would resonate with the audience, Chris, in your own time, please.
Okay. So first, thank you for having me on the show. The first thing I recommend is you got to be true to yourself. You got to be true of who you are, what you want to do in life, how you want to do it, how you want to be treated, how you want to treat people. So that comes from being true to yourself. The other thing is, which is pretty powerful, that I want to share. Don't let anyone stop you from what your goal or your mission is in life. Don't let anyone stop you. If you hear any negativity, if you share it with anybody or what your mission is, and you feel like you're getting some negative feedback, you gotta walk away from that person. Don't let anyone stop you from what you want to do. That's really crucial to know.
Thanks, man. Right, so there's always a message that a guest always brings on, and just that last one with you, because regular listeners to the podcast will know that this year has been quite a developmental year for me. I've been going through quite a few the highs and lows and trying to navigate myself through the highs and lows of life. And I just thanks for that last little passage that you just said. Just it got to me there because that's a message that I like to reiterate in my own head. Is just stop letting people put you down, or and just keep on focusing on the goal at hand. And at the end of the day, you will succeed. And And it's talking to people like you, Chris, that make me realize that, my own dreams are possible. Like you say, you are the living proof. You're an incredibly inspirational man. Amazing story to go with it as well, and so motivational. A true leader of resilience, and just a real stand-up guy. I've really, really, really enjoyed having you on the podcast. So you don't need to thank me. My thanks, stop with you, man. It's been my absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I'm sure you've, like I said before at the start, the subjects that we've spoken about, they aren't normal subjects that we hear across the side of the pond. So yeah, just once more, thank you so much, Chris, for giving me up a bit of your time and coming on this evening. I really do appreciate it, mate.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you too. Thank you. Bye for
No
now.
worries, man. No worries. And like I say, guys, Chris has got 3 books. The links to all them books are going to be in the episode description below. Likewise, you can find out more about Chris with all his websites, his Instagram handles, social media handles as well will all be covered on there. So do give him a follow across on all them. I'm sure that, there's going to be so many people that are going to want to follow on from the story and pick it back up once we finish up tonight. If you are listening on YouTube, it would really mean the world to me if you could drop a like and subscribe. It really does help us get on the algorithm. That really helps everybody else hearing stories like this to give them the motivation to show them that things are possible if we just put our minds to them, put our bodies towards them, and really just concentrate on them. And like I've said time and time again, Chris is the proof of that. Guys, this has been an absolute belter. I've loved this one. It really has hit home a lot of the subjects that I've related to cover, and I'm sure you have as well. From Chris Terzakos across in sunny Florida, and from Andrew Willicks back here in Scotland, this has been the Borderline Podcast. Good night.